We are live! How about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. Today is November 6, 2022. I am your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member of Auburn Live on 3, now is the perfect opportunity to join us. We have a coaching search going on right now. We've got a coaching special going on right now. $25 for the entire year. As I like to say, it's like a cute puppy. You know, you just can't beat it. Go to Auburn Live on 3. Get signed up. A lot to discuss tonight, including Auburn's overtime loss to Mississippi State on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of calls to answer, comments to address, and here to help me do it all are the usual suspects. Mr. Cole Pinkston, Mr. Keith Niebuhr, Mr. Jhead. How about you, fellas?
How about you, J. Lee?
All right. That is what I'm talking about. Guys, let me tell you something. As far as the game yesterday, look at Keith.
Hey, is that Fernando in the back?
That's the A&M cheerleaders, the callers.
Oh, I can't wait to see the 12 o'clock. What did they call it? The curtain call. What the hell they do at 12 o'clock? The Aggie yell cheer.
Yeah, man, I've been practicing.
You need to keep working on that.
Ready to do the old 12th man.
And Zach, jump in here when we've got some guys on hold that we'll make sure to shut up and start taking some calls. But before we do, let's all get a couple of comments each on yesterday. I think there are two things to discuss when it comes to Auburn's loss to Mississippi State. Number one, how in the hell Auburn was even in that game. Mm-hmm. You can look at that. That's one story, right? The other story is, why didn't Auburn win? Different stories to talk about. First, let's everybody give me a quick thought. Jhead, we'll start with you, big dog. Auburn 39-33, overtime loss to Mississippi State. Shouldn't have been in the game. Somehow they were.
Inspired play. I mean, I think that says it all. Inspired play, guys that were playing for the love of the game, that were playing for their coach, that were playing for their school, that wanted to make a statement that we are not going to fold, period, end quote. That was what I saw in that game.
Cole?
I'm going to be a little controversial and say better game plan on offense and inspired play on defense, like Jhead saying.
Keith?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is not Moral Victory University.
Right.
Okay, let's be clear about that. This is Auburn University. That said, when it's 24-6 and everything's going wrong and you're looking like garbage and you don't fold, that says a lot about the character, the composition of your team. Twice Auburn led in the fourth quarter, had many chances to – not many, but had a few chances to kind of win that game. So from the firing of Brian Harsin, that's an upward – Auburn's sort of been on an upward path those last 6-7 days. And so I think that was another galvanizing moment for the Auburn fan base. Never seen a fan base happy to lose.
Right.
But they were proud. And
proud.
You don't see that in law. You don't always see that in defeat. You don't.
Zach, what'd you think, big dog?
Man, I wanted that one bad. I don't know about you guys. That loss hurt worse than any other one this year just because I wanted it for Cadillac.
I did too. I wanted Auburn to win. I wanted them to carry him off on their shoulders. You know, that was I think Javon Reed said it best on Twitter. It was like a movie script unfolding before our eyes, and then it was just like But as now, I said I wanted those players and coaches to win the LSU game. That was nothing compared to how it was last night. That was fun to me. I haven't had fun watching Auburn football in a long time. And right after halftime, I'm with my dad. I'm going, man, there's something magical going on here tonight. And I don't know how, because this offense is, you know, they lose 6, lose 4. I mean, they were getting 1 to 2 yards a series, and then they score a touchdown somehow. Big play, busted play. Cole, let's talk about that. Special teams were atrocious.
Yeah.
A lot of points left on the field.
Yep.
Lot of again, two stories here. How in the hell was Auburn even in that game? And then why didn't they lose it? You could look at it one or two different ways. Zach, you got some people on the phone for us? Let's get to it.
We got 2 people on the line. I'm going 1370 and 6848. 1370, kicking off the show. Who's calling in? Where are you calling from?
This is Lord George calling from Nashville. How you doing?
LG.
What's on your mind tonight, LG?
I'll go to my old staple, offensive line, and see what you guys think. And obviously, Jeremiah Wright was trying to push someone through a hole to China there at that one play. But also, why do you think they rotate on offensive line? Thanks, guys. I'll hang up.
Appreciate you, LG. Thanks for calling. Cole, you're our O-line expert. You were shaking your head.
Yeah, man. First of all, Lord George, appreciate you always staying with the football no matter what, dude. He's all on it.
Mhm.
I have no idea why they rotate the guards. I don't know if and I really don't. I haven't done a case study to see if it hurts or helps. And I don't know because they've done it all year. But it seems like Jeremiah Wright needs to stay in, and maybe it's because there's really not another clear-cut guy that needs to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, the offensive line had their best game. From watching it, I thought they had the best game. I thought that they messed up in pass protection a few times, but we're kind of coming to expect that now. So that's why you leave Ashford in and you let him run. You know, he's getting to where he can make plays out of that pretty more consistently, I should say. So
he likes the busted play. Jhead, jump in here.
One thing on the Jeremiah Wright late hit, targeting, whatever you want to call it. Look, I like a guy that plays with aggression. I can deal with that. And to be honest, that was a lack of enforcement on the cowbell rule. He couldn't hear.
That's what he said.
See him saying that on the sideline to Cadillac, like I could not hear. And then Cadillac coaching him up saying, look, when you see guys start to slow down, look, you got to play mean, but you got to be aware. And I thought that was a great teachable moment and really loved the way the passion that kid plays with. I mean,
I loved it.
He's trying to hurt people.
Yeah, the penalty sucks, but you know you can't take that away from somebody. You can't take that fire away from, especially with the way things are going. Gosh, man, I love to see it. I hate there's penalties for that kind of stuff now. There used to not be, but now there is. We moved the goalposts on that. So, I just love Aspire. I really do.
Agreed.
Zach, what you got for us? We're gonna try to get to as many calls as we can tonight, man.
6848. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Bryce from Beulah. How's everyone doing?
What's up, Bryce?
Bryce.
Yeah, been a few weeks. I hadn't called in or anything. Just kind of taking a couple of weeks to see how everything went and all that.
Fair.
Obviously, I had the best week so far of the season. Enjoyed that, seeing him gone finally or whatever. But, like last night with the game and all that, talking about it's the most I've invested into a game that I can remember in a long time. It was a lot of fun last night. I enjoyed it. The whole, the passion and the spirit. I mean, everything with Cadillac surrounding this week, man, that was great. So I'm really excited about, these last couple of games, and it was looking bleak there for a while, but really enjoying it. So what I wanted to call in, I had two questions. First, I saw an SI report earlier today where they're saying that there's potentially mutual interest in Lanning and in Auburn. So as I was listening to the recruiting show the other day, Jhead made a point about the red herring. And when we were talking about the AD search, when we're getting all these names floated out, right? We're hearing Hartwell, and then all of a sudden it's like, if it's him, why did it happen? I kind of feel like, I'll get your kind of feel on this. I feel like that's what Deion Sanders is kind of turning into now. I feel like they're just not shooting it down, but you can see now Deion's like in his post game, and I think he's getting a little frustrated with these reports, like he's flying to Atlanta. So to me, that would seem like he's not being contacted or whatever, but Auburn or Roberts, whatever, they don't mind the publicity and, the name being attached to it. What do you kind of get that feel, Jhead, or?
Look, I think there's legitimate interest in Prime. To what degree, I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know how serious of a candidate he is at this point. And it's, to be honest, outside of about probably 2 or 3 names, I really don't know how serious anybody else is either. And we're gonna find out. I think Prime is gonna get an interview. I do think that Deion's getting frustrated with some of the attention that's coming off of his team and not being focused on what Jackson State is trying to accomplish at this point. But Deion's used to fame, man. I mean, look, he's used to the questions. He's used to the show. He is a nonstop 100% draw every time he opens his mouth. And you gotta appreciate his honesty. But yes, I do think he's a legitimate target. To what degree, I don't know. And I think next week we should probably start to get some more clarity as to maybe who we're focusing in on. At least a better sample size anyway.
Bryce, what else you got, big dog?
I'm moved Lanning to the top for everything that Keith said on there on the recruiting show about it's so hard to get kids to take visits up there to Oregon, and he could come right back down here where he coached at Bama, coached at Georgia. He knows the coaches. He knows the landscape. So I've moved to Lanning. But so with that said, last year in multiple sports, Jaylee, you talked about this a lot. With us having to take so many transfers, what are we going to do about the credit kind of situation? Is this going to be something that maybe schools didn't anticipate? That first year when the portal just went berserk, and then Desi Steele, and there's all these guys. The kid down there at South Florida was like the sack leader or whatever. He didn't have enough credits. How are they going to navigate this? Is this something to where we're looking at the future to where maybe Auburn's going to have to create another degree path in order to accept these and all that?
The progress towards degree, Bryce, is what you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Bryce, appreciate your call, dude. We're going to hit that up because progress towards – appreciate you, Bryce. Progress towards degree. And Keith, it was at least a reason / excuse for a lot of the there were several guys in the transfer portal last year that Desi Seals comes to mind, as Bryce said. Jhead, you look like you're itching to jump on here.
I think that there was some legitimacy to it.
I do too.
Again, here's the thing. At Alabama, when Nick Saban first got there, they didn't have a sports management degree either. He had that created there in Tuscaloosa. I do think that is a major. There are a lot of kids that are that they're interested in doing, and it would probably be advantageous for Auburn to create the same.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any harm in doing that. Now, how quickly can we get that off the ground? I honestly have no idea. I am not in the world of academia, and I have no idea what it takes to create a new major and or what college you would put that in. But I do think it would benefit us. Do I think that's the reason we didn't land every kid? No, I don't. Not by any means. But I do think that it did hinder us in certain recruitments for sure.
It's the 40-60-80 rule. Is that right?
Yes.
40-60-80 rule. So whatever year you're in, you've got to have 40% of your degree, your what do you call them, credits?
Yes.
Yeah, you can tell I went to college for 7 years, big dog. I was just glad when they said, you're done, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But that's something to definitely keep an eye on the transfer portal. That's something that Auburn's going to have to vet these kids in the portal. They're going to have to look at what their grades are, their credits are, and how they have progressed, because Auburn has had trouble with transfers in the past. Zach, I know we've got some more callers. Before we do, man, I want to jump in here. Jessica Andrews, if you're looking for a house in Auburn or Opelika, if you want to sell your house in Auburn or Opelika, she is the one to call. 5-star realtor, folks. Jessica Andrews with eXp Realty. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. Buying, selling, she can do it all. Investment property, residential. Give her a call. Jessica Andrews with eXp Realty, 334-704-4442. Zach, keep us rolling, big dog.
4620. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hey guys. I can hear. Sorry. This is Todd from Carrollton, Georgia.
What's up, buddy?
Who was it?
What's up? How's it going?
What was your name?
Todd.
Ron.
Todd.
Ron.
Todd. Sorry.
Todd, you're from Carrollton, Georgia.
Yeah.
You know where Woodland, Alabama is?
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Whatever.
Online though, so I know why you're asking.
What's on your mind, Todd?
Cam and Bo coming on my face. I'll rub that shit in. I'm gonna come to script. I need that Cam nut to fill me up.
You're breaking up, dude, and it might be a good thing.
Yeah, it definitely was.
What he said he needed?
I don't know. 7874. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Hayden H6 on the board from Mumford, Alabama.
What's up, Hayden?
Hayden.
What's up? What's up? How we doing?
Doing well, man. What's on your mind tonight, Hayden? You like that game last night?
Oh, yeah, of course. Just one quick question and I'll hang up and let you discuss it. So I'm sitting there watching Arkansas and Liberty. And I watched Arkansas play Auburn last week. And at the end of the game, I'm thinking, does what just happened on the field impact how people think about Hugh Freeze? Maybe I'm tripping, but I would like to hear the thought. Keith, I hope North Carolina's treating you good.
I hear you, Hayden. Thanks for the call, big dog. We appreciate it, man. Hugh Freeze.
Hold on a second.
Hey!
Enough of these wise ass comments. Okay? I'm going to take his question, but what was the question?
Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Do you think his performance yesterday against Arkansas at Arkansas with a Liberty team beat Arkansas, something that Auburn and Brian Harsin couldn't do a week before at home?
I mean, it's eye-opening, of course. It's just one more piece of the puzzle, though, right? And one more resume builder for Hugh. But did we all not know going into that game that Hugh Freeze was a good coach? I mean, I think we already knew that.
Yes.
He won at Ole Miss. Obviously, they had to forfeit some of the games, but he won at Ole Miss. He's had great success at Liberty. And not only has he had great success at Liberty, but he's he's made them relevant. Yeah. He's made you care about Liberty. You know, we were caring about Liberty before we ever even thought there was a possibility that he could be Auburn's next coach, right? And that's just one school. So hats off to him. I mean, the guy's he's a fantastic coach. If Auburn should go in that direction, and that's above my pay grade, but if Auburn should go in that direction, I would have confidence in him to get things headed in the right direction. And also, I think he's a guy that could raise money. Recruits like him. I've seen him in action. I've covered his camp multiple times at Ole Miss. I've known guys that worked for him on his staff, and they all liked him. I talked to a player last week that played for him and liked him. And I know I'm going on, and that's off the main topic, but he gets recruiting, okay? And not only does he get recruiting, that relationship building and all that stuff, he understands that people like us, Jeffrey, Jhead, Cole, that we're important to what he's trying to build, and he assists people like that. He let me break 2 Ole Miss commitments from his office. I mean, can't beat that, can you?
No.
That never happened with Gus. You know what I mean? So
not for you.
But that was an eye-opening win. That was an eye-opening win, and you have to seize those opportunities if you're at Liberty. People are giving me hell on the message board because the same Liberty team almost lost to Gardner-Webb a few weeks ago.
Sure did.
That's football. That's football.
And I this one too. He won yesterday with a backup quarterback. Caden Salter's out.
Third string quarterback.
Yeah, third string. My bad. Yeah, because I forgot their backup.
And that dude had the flu or something earlier in the week, didn't he?
He did. He did not take one practice snap.
How about two former Auburn players on that defense? Jay Hardy, defensive tackle, 2 tackles. He's only got about 10 tackles for the year, but I don't know how much of an impact he'd be having at Auburn. But Dre Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is him. He's up to 22 tackles for the year. He had, I think, 3 tackles yesterday, half a sack, 1 tackle for loss, a pass breakup. He was active at times in that game, played a role in that win. And that's a guy that had, I want to say, 20 or so tackles his first year at Auburn and dipped down to 6 last year in Brian Harsin's first year. And he said, I'm out of here, man. I'm not, and no hard feelings. He's still promoting Auburn to other recruits, by the way. He loves Auburn. But it's kind of interesting, right? Another dynamic here.
I'd say the one thing you see a lot of people argue against Hugh Freeze, or they have something where they're like, I have a hang up with Hugh Freeze. You don't see, it's very rare that you see them say, well, he's not a good coach. Or
it's not because of his coaching.
I got something on that, but go ahead, Cole.
Well, no, that's all. It's rare. It happens, I'm sure. But
what you see a lot of is, and look, I'm very clear about this, and that if I were the athletic director, my first offer would be to Lane Kiffin. He is the most made quantity right now with SEC wins underneath his belt right there in your own division. I don't think you can look at him and say, hey, that's not the absolute proof of concept that we need to turn this program around. That said, Hugh Freeze has also accomplished a lot in the SEC. Yep. He has played 3 Power 5 teams now. He's won 2 of those games, losing 1 to Wake Forest. He's got another one against Vatech. My guess is he'll win that one. what people typically say when they don't want to give Hugh credit for being a good head coach, oh, he's just another Gus. That's all he is. They like to poor mouth him that way.
I know somebody who's done that before.
That is their way of trying to say, no, man, he's really not that good of a coach. And if you look at what
I didn't want him to be.
No, they don't want him to be, because if they look, Hugh's got some things that have not necessarily been great. Okay. He's had some incidents in the past, and I get people's reservations. But what I would encourage people to say is just be honest. Just say, look, man, I don't want any part of the dude because of what happened off the field. But as a on the field coach, I think you got to tip your hat to him and say, you know what, he can really coach ball.
Yep, he can.
There's another coach on Auburn's campus that people said the same thing when we hired him, and now we've been to the Final Four.
Oh,
that's a good point.
Zach coming in hot.
Ooh, Zach, you're going to get some blowback on that.
Nobody said Bruce Pearl couldn't coach, though, right? Definitely.
That's true.
No.
But they had problems with his off the court.
I think that's what Cole was saying, right? Cole?
Yeah, people have problems with that. They don't have a problem with him as a coach or a recruiter.
Well, I mean, but there was no coach like Freeze is tied to Gus.
Right.
Nobody with Pearl tied to that was just, hey, this guy's won every – by the way, Bruce Pearl to me is kind of like Brian Kelly. Like everybody was dogging that hire at LSU, and I'm thinking, geez, this guy's won every single place he's been. And not only that, won big every single place he's been. That's Bruce Pearl to me. It'd be nice if the Auburn football program could highlight that, you know.
I agree, Keith, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I think people are so, specifically Auburn people, about making sure the fit is right, SEC experience. After the situation we've just had with Brian Harsin, they're unable to look at a guy like Brian Kelly or unable to look at a guy like Matt Rule and say, oh, well, you know, I mean, he can have success at Auburn, but you know what, guys, he's not from the SEC. He doesn't know how we recruit down here. He from the North, we from the South. You hear that a lot, okay? So I understand it, but I do think that there are transferable qualities with a lot of candidates like a Luke Fickell or somebody of that nature, where that success that they've had would translate to the SEC. I don't think you necessarily have to have coached in the SEC to come down here and be successful, a la Urban Meyer. If you're willing to do the things necessary, if you understand recruiting, if you understand how a blue blood program is run, I think that's transferable.
Well, and those guys all that you mentioned, and we'll go on another subject here, but all those guys you mentioned, even though they were at other schools, Saban at Michigan State, they had recruited in the South. They understood the dynamics in play, you know.
Yep.
So,
Hey, good stuff, Hayden. Got us talking, man. Keep us rolling there, Zach.
9296. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is AUJHW, calling from Birmingham.
What's up, JHW?
Another for you guys. Everyone's going to ask you about who the next coach is. Y'all don't know. But put yourself in the shoes of the Auburn athletic director. You hire the football coach. The next day, what is your next move? What does the AD and the athletic department have to do to make sure this next coach is successful and successful quickly? Because we all know, I mean, we can all sit here and say that our fans should be patient, but the reality is that's not the way it is today. So I would like y'all tell me what do y'all think the athletic director and the athletic department needs to do next after we hire the coach to move us forward. I appreciate it, and I'll take your answer off there. Thanks.
Appreciate you, JH-Dub. And you know what my first thought was? Introducing to Brett Whiteside.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I was thinking, man, that's a pretty good question, but that nails it right there.
Brett Whiteside, the executive director of Auburn's main collective, On to Victory, doing a fantastic job raising money, has got Auburn really in the NIL game, and the next coach should absolutely benefit from that. So the first thing I'm doing is saying, welcome, Lane. This is Brett.
I think probably the other thing that you're going to do, and this is going to be negotiated before he even steps foot on this campus, but is giving him the salary pool for assistants to go out and get the best of the best. Because
there you go.
We need some absolute hitters on this staff right now. Given what we're looking at from a roster turnover standpoint and a roster management situation, you need to be able to go out and get guys that, A, are bought into your philosophy, and 2, can 100% tear it up on the trail, because you've got to flip your roster in the next 2 years. I mean, 100%.
Absolutely. Go get them.
It'll never happen, but down the road, it looks like I got a red tongue here drinking this Powerade. But you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see somebody say, here's a map of the state for you and your staff. get your asses in your cars and get to know the people of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Here's 20 stops that you need to make.
Because the last group didn't even get these guys on the phone, right?
Right.
The head guy. All the other people did. And I was talking to somebody the other day. It might have been Jeffrey. I don't remember who it was. And we were thinking, God, you think Brian Harson's ever even driven to Selma or Birmingham or taken 280 or done? Is just they're like head coaches at times. They're just like mercenaries these days. They helicopter to places. They fly to places. Yep. You get in that damn car, man. Learn the region.
Look, I'm going to go back on Jeffrey's reporting from about probably 12 years ago now, but by God, bring Tiger Prowl back.
Wow, how beneficial was that?
Listen, that was the greatest thing, to put them in a limousine, all of them collectively together. And, they're rapping off each other and spitballing while they're there, but they would all show up at these various schools. I mean, give Chizik credit, and or whoever his recruiting coordinator was.
Curtis Looper for putting that together. And they did hit the top 25 schools in the state of Alabama. And they started in Mobile and made their way across. And there were news cameras and reporters waiting on them to arrive.
Yes, it's common sense. It's a PR play, too.
Right.
Yep,
PR play. And it was. Hey, but you don't think those kids love that? Dude, hey, listen, you say all you want to about Chizik, but that dude recruited, again, Gus Malzahn went to the 2013 National Championship because he got Nick Marshall and a roster full of Curtis Looper, Trooper Taylor, Jay Boulware, Tommy Thigpen players.
Jeff Grimes.
Might want to throw that one in there, huh?
Yeah, maybe, right?
That's not something you could do right away that we're talking about. But once that second signing period ends and you've got a little time, man, go get to know people. Figure out
I completely agree, Keith.
What kind of people live in Huntsville. So when you go into schools, you're going to be prepared. You're going to understand the dynamics within the culture of those communities, because not every area in Alabama is the same as every other area, right?
Right.
Anyway,
Cole, you got any? What you doing?
No, man. I think the Brett Whiteside comment was number one. I mean, that to me is that fits today, right? I mean, that's what you have to do today. Today's football. That's I think
move. All three of those things in the first 48 hours. I mean, obviously, you've got to get your NIL guy. You've got to get your coaches. And then once you get your coaches, you're out on the road and grassrooting through the state of Alabama, through South Georgia.
Yeah, I'm with Keith on that as well. I mean, I'm thinking, too, what if you get a guy that has a pretty good lay of the land already? Doesn't mean he shouldn't still go out there, but that would be like, hey, they've already got that part in the bag. Let's what's next? That's what they're thinking after what they consider to be a mistake with hiring Brian Harsin, and saying, let's go ahead and get some of these things that were not available for Brian Harsin nailed down first before he even steps foot on campus, right?
And you know what? I also might throw in a little shindig with the money men.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Look,
bring your best homemade brew, fellas. Meet me out here by the fire.
Now, if you had that hotel above the north end zone that I
he's selling it now.
Perfect place, rooftop bar. You have all those guys there. If somebody's not giving you enough money, maybe you get a couple muscle men to dangle them over the edge until they cough up a few million.
Little persuasion. Hey, JH Dub, great question, man. Great discussion. Thanks there.
Yep.
Yes, fantastic.
Great poster.
Got anybody
9260? Yeah, I'm here. 9260. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, it's BJT WDE from Birmingham.
What's up?
All right.
What's up? So I guess I want to get y'all's opinion on something, because I know Jhead has thrown out, I think, on his initial list of his coaches. I think Joe Witt Jr. was the 5th coach on his initial list. And do y'all think there's an big time NFL coach that's maybe flying under the radar? Because I feel like I have a hypothesis on somebody that may sound crazy, but I kind of want to get y'all's opinion on. But first, do y'all think there's someone in the NFL that could be on a list that's not being talked about?
Not to my knowledge.
So Joe is a special situation because he knows Auburn and because he's an assistant that could probably leave in the season. And this is why I will tell you that it's probably not possible for an NFL coach this time around is due to the recruiting calendar. If you've got a coordinator or a head coach that's in the NFL, they're not going to be released early to come to Auburn, not unless you've got a Bobby Petrino type situation where they're just going to quit. You know what I mean? And walk over to Arkansas the next day. And I don't think we want to hire anybody in that kind of a situation. That's not setting a good early precedent as far as that's concerned. So outside of an assistant coach in the NFL, I'd be hard pressed to say there's somebody out there that could leave their job and come to Auburn on the timeline that we need them to be there by, because you need somebody in place at the latest by the second week in December.
And that goes along with the person I'm thinking who's not coaching this year and is an analyst is Sean Payton, which sounds crazy. I know he's a big time name, but he could come in.
I actually had a guy mention him last week.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds crazy on the surface, but he's not under contract. He's an offensive mind.
Yeah, Jhead, I think you said he was going to be the Panthers' new coach.
I think that is the rumor in the coaching community is that he will be the next head coach for the Carolina.
He's an NFL guy.
Yeah,
right.
I do not see Sean Payton at the college level. And I listen, I love outside the box thinking. Mm-hmm. Sean Payton is a fantastic coach and football mind, but I think he'd be a fish out of water in the college game at this point in time. I honestly do.
EJT, I'm gonna add this too. I saw the transition Ike Hilliard made coming in. The recruiting part of this is absolutely overwhelming at times for these guys. It is, he was, and don't get me wrong now, he's got Adam Hopkins, he's got DeQuavius Story, he had Carmelo English. Mm-hmm. And this guy was overwhelmed with having to recruit and figuring out all the nuances of recruiting and what it takes. Keith, jump on in here, big guy.
Well, the counter to that is when a guy goes from a big college to the NFL, and I'm not going to name drop, but we all know coaches. We deal with these guys, so we get to know them. But two guys that I've gotten to know really well, one's with the Cleveland Browns, one's with the Ravens, and they both told me there ain't no way in hell I'm going back to college because ain't no way in hell am I going back. Now, money changes things, but yeah, it's a different lifestyle. These guys are, you can go over a month sometimes without having to really do anything in the NFL, and you're dealing with grown men, not
right professionals.
Their moms, their dads, Uncle Fred. You know what I mean? It's
right.
The 7-on-7 coach. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, Ike Hilliard's situation specifically, he was doing zero recruiting, right? NFL only. So he goes to a situation where, hey, you're really probably doing more recruiting than coaching. We're being honest.
Oh, yeah.
At the wide receiver position, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're not just recruiting the kid, you're recruiting the family, you're doing everything. You got to go to these games, you got to stay on it all day, and then somehow you got to figure out how to get the game plan ready, get your guys ready. That's got to be in there too. So, a lot of people were fired up about Ike, and he's done a good job. It's just it takes a minute. There's a learning curve, man.
Yeah. Listen, I've been watching. I don't want to get too far up, but I've been watching a lot of Sorey film lately. That kid's going to be. He is a stud athlete. I don't know what he's going to play at Auburn, if he's going to be a safety or athlete, but he is an absolute athlete.
People always say, well, hey, why don't we, if you have a bunch of NFL guys, they can just sell their Super Bowl ring. They can have a recruiting trail. They can, hey, man, I know what it takes to get to the NFL. Well, if it's that easy, everybody would have staffs full of NFL guys, okay? Right. It's not that easy. It's a challenge whichever direction you go in, from college to the pros to college, because it's different. You're still teaching, but you're dealing with either grown men who know what they're doing and have a paycheck depending upon it, or kids. And so, it used to be that the thought was if you were going to the NFL, it would be the harder jump. And I think there's a lot of people now, at least with assistant coaches, that say going in the opposite directions, the harder of the deals.
No doubt.
Hours, dealing with everything. You know what I mean? Then now you got to deal with the portal, NIL, all that stuff. You don't have to deal. NFL, the GM goes and gets you the players, you coach them.
You coach them. That's it.
Yep.
Hey, good stuff, EJT. We appreciate your call, man.
7373. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Gentlemen, how about you? From Auburn in the South Carolina Low Country, this is Auburn stuff.
What's
Hold on. Run it back.
Your phone a little bit better, baby.
Hold on, Jim. Good God Almighty.
Hey,
There it is. Still got an echo. You guys hear me?
Yeah,
We
man.
do, man. Who is this? Where are you calling from?
I had a big introduction. Gosh darn it. How about you? This is all the way from the South Carolina Low Country. This is Auburn stuff.
Auburn stuff.
What's up, man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How about that Cole?
Yes.
Guys, I'm really happy to be speaking to you. First of all, I want to say, give me Caddy and Zach, and let's call it a day and run with it. Because you guys did back on the recruiting show, you guys did a good discussion, basically describing Auburn's perfect mythical coach, and you were talking about Caddy. Talking about his knowledge of the state, his relationship with the coaches, high school coaches, his ability to relate to recruits and the current players. And I understand the realities in play here that, unfortunately, just because of experience, he's probably not going to get a look. But, man, you just described the perfect coach. And
Or the perfect running backs coach.
Well, yeah. But what I like to bring up tonight is we talk about who do we want? Who do we want to bring in? I'd like to talk more about kind of the philosophy of what kind of coach do we want. Because I think, and especially these days, we advance further along down this path where college football is going. You need a guy who is able to manage the entire program. And we look at guys, personally, I don't want to know Steve as my head coach. I don't think there's anybody in the world that has enough bandwidth to be so deeply involved in the offensive play calling as head coach that he can manage the 10,000 other things during a game and during the week and during the off season. It just doesn't seem, if you look across the landscape, it doesn't seem like those guys, they'll give you 10 wins and a couple of big exciting wins. But when it comes to that big hump, getting over that hump, winning that title, it seems like those guys are kind of few and far between on that level. And, I mean, honestly, I watched Caddy last night, and who he reminded me of, and I hate to say this because he doesn't have a square head and man boobs, but Caddy reminded me a lot of Kirby. You should see Kirby with a lot of energy on the sideline, but he's not jumping around, hiding behind the plate. He's coaching those players up, and he's kind of watching the game on a holistic level. And that's the kind of guy, when it comes to it, Prime looks like he's probably that kind of a guy. He's not micromanaging one side of the ball or one aspect of the game, but he's sort of managing the program and putting the guys in place who need to run those individual aspects while he's managing them. And I think that if you look across the landscape, those kind of guys are the ones that will win you the title.
Okay. All right. Hey, Stuff, great call, big dog. I appreciate your call.
Thanks, man.
I will say this. Somebody told me this, and I'm going to probably catch some flack from it, but I'm going to say, if two things can be true, Auburn was in that football game last night because of the head coach.
Yep.
Auburn lost that football game last night because of the head coach.
I think that's also true.
It is. It is. And, hey, listen, I don't want to talk about any of the negative stuff because those players and coaches don't deserve that. They deserve all the credit in the world for just being in that game. But let's be honest here. If you want to look at it objectively and you want to look at that second story I was telling you about how these guys – listen, Auburn's not in that game without their head coach.
Correct.
And Auburn lost that game because of the inexperience of their head coach.
Who put the loss on himself after the game.
Agreed.
which you're not seeing a lot
Listen,
of that.
there's nothing negative I have to say about that man. I love Carnell Williams. I love what he did last night. I would never blame that man.
Yeah, if you were to, I don't think he'd be I don't think he's going to be the guy they pick, obviously. No, you never know, right? But it doesn't seem like they would go in that direction. So we know the pros, right? The guy is an amazing person.
Unbelievable.
To talk to. If you've spent 5 minutes with the guy, he's so shy but engaging at the same time. So what could some potential, I don't want to say negatives, but what could be some things that would make it hard for him? I mean, obviously, he hasn't been in coaching that long, and there's a different dynamic in play from player to coach. He's still learning to be a coach. He's been, I think, a very good running backs coach, but there's other challenges. And also, as you're putting together a staff, let's just play devil's advocate. Some people may say, gee, I don't know, this is an inexperienced guy. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. I'm an experienced OC. I don't know how that's going to work. Now, other guys may say, you know what? He's going to give me complete autonomy of the offense. I'm an experienced OC. Let's go. I love this guy. You just don't know. You don't know. But it's a shame he hasn't been doing this for maybe 5 years longer.
Yeah.
You know
he's been at Auburn from, I think Gus hired him in 2016.
Yeah.
No, not even. I think he hired him in 2019.
I think
3 years?
Tim Horton was there for quite a while.
He hired him from IMG when Noah Kane was coming through, and Noah Kane.
And Kane was at 2020. Yeah.
Yep. He's still at. Mm-hmm.
But what he's done so far has been very good, and he is on an upward path. If he should choose to want to go in that direction of being a full-time head coach, he's certainly now going to have he's going to learn a lot from this. He's going to learn a lot from this. And how about the fact we haven't even talked about this, guys? How about all the younger guys he played the other day?
Ooh.
How about all the younger guys? Maybe Cadillac's a little smarter than we give him credit for. And we already know he's smart, but that's coaching smart. What do you got to play for right now? Not a ton. Okay. Maybe you could get into a bowl game. What's more important, a bowl game or that future? And that tells me that's a guy that really gets the future part. I love the guy. I mean,
listen, even his, you're watching that game objectively and you're going, this is a dumb move. And I loved it. They didn't kick an extra point the entire game. Am I wrong?
Nope.
Went for 2 every time. Went for 4th down I don't know how many times.
Well, Mike Leach's pooch kick was a dumb, right? What if that doesn't work? Then Auburn's got the ball.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes you got to take chances, man.
I don't have any qualms with his. And listen, objectively speaking, they were probably dumb.
Well, look.
I hear you. And, Cole, I want to get your input, and then I'll chime in with, I think what he was trying to get is a CEO-type coach versus.
I'm sorry, Stuff. I got to.
You good, man.
I had all that stuff. I needed to say all that stuff. My bad. Go ahead, Jhead.
No. Let Cole go first, and then I'll jump in.
What I said today, just sharing this now about the young guys that were in there, like Derek Hall playing out in space more, Jalen Simpson playing at safety a lot, having an interception at safety. So that paid off, right? Because he was in the right place at the right time for that interception. And then he also had a couple mistakes. So it's like, it's a game of chess. You go, okay, I know I'm risking this, but, I mean, this guy can make a play for me. J.D. Rim, he played pretty good in a lot of areas. Barton Lester and Jake Levant playing linebacker, 2 former walk-ons.
My man, Barton Lester. Hell yeah, I had him a tackle at least.
Yeah, a couple. Levant too. So they said, look, there's risk with these guys, but number one, it keeps us fresh in the second half. As you saw, the second half was totally different.
Completely.
Number two, there's high reward. High risk, high reward. There's a chance these guys can make plays that we have not been making all year. And they did. A lot of those guys did.
So Stuff was more talking about could Cadillac be a CEO type coach, and hit that real quick, Jhead, and then we'll move on.
So I think Cadillac would have to be CEO type, but I'm with you guys. I mean, it's just a lack of experience at this point in his career. Cadillac still needs to develop as an assistant, coordinator, lower group of time. Some different development track than being thrown into being the head coach at Auburn right now. I think that would more or less, and I hate to say it like this, but it would eat him alive this early in his career. I don't think he's prepared for that. Now, let me give you a behind-the-scenes look at it. To me, CEO, play caller, If you don't think that Kirby Smart is over there calling plays on defense, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, he's as involved in the defensive game plan as any coach. Same with Nick Saban. All right, and those guys are viewed as CEO coaches. But whether you're an offensive play caller or a pure CEO or you're involved in the defensive side, when they're interviewing these candidates, they need to ask them, and I'll use Prime as an example. Okay, Prime, tell me how you would fill out your staff. All right, here, and here. Now, those guys aren't available. Who else do you know that can fill those spots? Figuring out what that Rolodex is extremely important because connections in the coaching community, that's a situation where Gus was limited to a degree, and he would have to lean on Auburn to help facilitate a relationship, or it would be somebody that had been an analyst under him that he needed to promote up the chain that understood how he worked. So knowing coaches that have an extensive Rolodex, whether that's Kiffin, Lanning, Freeze, whoever you bring in, Prime, those are the questions that need to be asked. What's your recruiting basis? What's your plan for operations on an everyday basis? What system do you plan to install? If things go sideways, what would you turn to? There are a variety of questions, and making sure that you have a guy like Quentin Riggins or Ronnie Brown or somebody that truly understands football needs to be in the context of those meetings so those questions are being asked and answered properly.
Was the recruiting question asked 2 years ago? I need to know.
I think Alan Green was just worried about who he's going to hot tub with, man. I mean,
in retrospect, that just seemed like a panic move.
I think it was 100% a panic move of I need to find somebody before I get told Kevin Steele is going to be my head coach. I think that's –
and I'm going to do it on my own.
Right. Once Billy Napier went sideways, then Brent Venables went sideways. Bill Clark was talked to for 5 seconds. He was trying to find somebody before he was told Kevin Steele will be the next head football coach, if I had to guess.
Good stuff. Appreciate your call, man. Keep us rolling, Zach.
Kevin Steele will be
0970. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Don Juan calling from Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Don Juan. Oh, DJ.
Man, I may have to stay at his place. I'm going up there for Christmas in that area.
Oh, God. Hey, I'm here.
Great response. Thanks.
Yeah, that makes him feel better.
Don't get so excited.
You may get some gunshots pointed at your house by accident. I don't know why, but it's pretty loud out here at night. You know what I'm saying?
That'll be all right. Don Juan, well, what's on your mind tonight, big dog? What'd you think about that game?
Well, I quit watching it at halftime. And then I turn it back on, and I'm like, Cadillac's gonna do it. I just knew once we scored our first touchdown, I just knew that we was gonna get back in that game, and I'm sad the way it ended. Gosh, man, that one hurt. But I've never been a part of a loss where it felt like we won, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I do.
But what I'm calling about is I got a question for Keith. You mentioned a few weeks ago that you had a inside information with Lane Kiffin that he was interested in the Auburn job. And I'd like to get some more details on that, and then details on Jeremiah Cobb.
Okay, well, I mean, all I could tell you is...
Hey, Don Juan, thanks for calling in, big dog.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We just look. I don't want to can't give away too much, but we and I think he was interested the last time the job was open too. But remember what's happened. That some people say, why didn't Auburn go after him the last time? Well, he didn't have a 10-win season and probably another 10-win season.
He wasn't as hot as he is now.
He was still kind of in that rehabilitation part of his career. Remember, he had to go to Alabama. Then he took the job at FAU. He started like gangbusters at FAU, but then they actually fell off a little bit, I think, for a year or two, and then. Go ahead, Jhead. What are you going to say?
It was just 1 year. So he won the conference. Then he won like 5 games the next year and then won the conference again the next year.
So, but he was still not – but now he's gone to Ole Miss. They haven't won an SEC title since 1963, and they are very much in the hunt right now, looking at potentially back-to-back 10-win seasons. Auburn hasn't done that since 88, 89. Now, granted, Ole Miss's non-conference schedule is, they're not playing any big boys, but that also could be a product of the fact that a Notre Dame may say, well, what do we have to gain by playing them? So it works both ways. A little bit more challenging for them to find an Oregon to play than it is for Auburn to find an Oregon to play. But no, I can all I can tell you is that he's had interest in the program in the past, and it sounds like there's probably some now too. We can't give away more than that. But with Jeremiah Cobb, and by the way, just because somebody has interest, there may be dozens and dozens of guys. Let me see what they have going on here. Doesn't mean a guy would take a job if offered either, by the way. Everything's got to be right for a person. He's in a good situation, I will say that. With the portal now, I think Lane's thinking, from what I'm told, that you can do big things at Ole Miss. It's a lot easier now out there, and look what he's done with the portal. So, again, do they have the resources Auburn has? That's the question. Does he like what's the quality of life? I mean, there's so many variables we don't even think about beyond football. Jeremiah Cobb visited Georgia over the weekend. We've been concerned about Georgia since before even Georgia even offered him. He's the four-star Auburn running back commit from Montgomery Catholic, for those that don't know. A reason is, once Del McGee, the former Auburn player and Georgia running backs coach, when he locks in on somebody, he's got a pretty good track record. He's already flipped the Robinson kid from San Diego, from UCLA this cycle, big-time running back that's having a huge year in California. So they've developed a good relationship. They had been developing a relationship before he was even offered by Georgia. Georgia's also recruiting a legacy recruit, Justice Haynes. He's committed to Alabama. Alabama feels good about holding on to him. If Georgia feels like, hey, we're not going to get this guy, Jeremiah Cobb's next. And that's not great for Auburn, let's be honest. Now, he loves Cadillac. And if you're Auburn, you hope he's going to be at the game this weekend, right? Mm-hmm. Just Cadillac and all that and see what's going on. But you also have to be very leery the way this is, he's solid for months, for a long time, for, 3-4 months to Auburn. They beat out Clemson, and then all of a sudden Georgia offered. Now all of a sudden he's visited Georgia for the biggest game there in decades, and they won, and the euphoria around that. So there's a lot going on right now. If you're Auburn, you're just trying to keep him communicating with you. That's all you can do right now. Be patient, because he's going to want Cadillac to be at Auburn, I'm sure. But this is not going to be hard, not going to be easy to hold them. I think you guys probably agree with me. It's going to be a real challenge.
100% agree.
Hey, good stuff, Don Juan. We appreciate your call, man.
9107. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This is Echo from Lake Wells, Florida. I just turned 83 years old yesterday.
Oh, well, happy birthday, big dog. What is your name?
Ethel.
Ethel.
Yeah. I was calling because I seen Keith's neighbor at a dentist.
Hey, Ethel, can you turn down the background noise?
And I don't know if he remembers me. I was wearing a green dress. He had a bag full of them pecker pills. Hey, Ethel, can you turn down the background noise?
There you go.
Now we lost him.
I never heard something.
Well, I've dated at least 7 or 8 Ethels, so sometimes I get them confused, to be honest with you.
I have no idea what they were talking about.
1473. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is T. Phillips 107.
What's up, Keith?
Phillips? In Birmingham, Alabama.
What's going on, Keith Phillips? What's on your mind tonight, big dog?
Yeah, so a couple things. I guess the first thing, Cole, I agree with you that I thought Will Friend called a pretty good offensive game. We got better as the game went on. Mm-hmm. That's not something we've seen over the last 2 years. So, and then another thing, I thought it was awesome watching Caddy and Zach Ethers pull a hamstring to call a timeout. Don't think our previous head coach would ever do that. And then finally, with the way this AD search went, it came out of nowhere. So if there was going to be a head coaching candidate that was going to come out of nowhere, who would it be? A sitting Power 5 coach, Group of 5 coach that's doing really well, that just somebody we're not hearing right now. So I'll shut up and listen. Thanks, guys.
Hey, appreciate you, Keith. Good call, man. Jhead, it's a tough question.
If we're going to go out of nowhere from people that probably are looking to at some point make a move in their career, I think Luke Fickell's probably the big name that's not being talked about right now that would be out of nowhere to me. That's somebody that's not right now in connection with this job. But it's so hard in the coaching community right now to say. I mean, I that's the thing about out of nowhere. You know.
And let's be fair, Jhead. Chris Roberts ran that AD search tight, right? Yeah. A coaching search is a little bit different. You're going to have more leads. I would be surprised if a name that hasn't been mentioned prior to is hired.
I would agree. And for those that don't understand how the industry works, and Jeffrey and Keith and everybody else can attest to this, coaches will call reporters and ask them, what do you think about Auburn? Coaches will call other coaches and say, are you interested in being on my staff? And they may just happen to be friendly with somebody who might leak that. There are a lot of moving pieces in a coaching search, and you typically get a lot more information as far as that's concerned. And then there are always agents that are friendly with various media reporters. How do you think Pete Thamel gets a top 5 list? And one of those names was complete bullshit, but let's not get into that. Okay. They put that information out there too, just to do a solid for whoever that agent is, Jimmy Sexton. But anyway, listen, Jay Lee's right. It's a lot easier in a coaching search to ascertain information and know what you're looking at as far as a candidacy pool is concerned. Now, yeah, you can get somebody nowhere. Brian Harsin came out of nowhere. I think Philip Marshall, it was the only person that had his name the day before that happened. And in Phillips, he wasn't predicting Harsin. He just said, hey, I think there's been contact there. That was it. That was the majority of the information on that one. So that's as much as out of nowhere as I've ever seen with a coaching search as far as that's concerned.
Which was the total aide, Alan Green.
Yep.
And Coach, I'll just get to tell a quick story here now. Coaches talk so much too, and they know that every other coach talks. They know if they tell one of their buddies, so everybody's going to find out. So I'm going to tell a quick story. I won't say who the second coach is involved, but when Gus was at Auburn, he was trying to fill a vacancy on his staff, and he was trying to keep it quiet. And I got a call one day from a coach, an Auburn assistant that was riding with him. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, yeah, Gus just pulled over off the side of the road. He's outside the call talking to a guy he's interviewing. He didn't want me to know who it is.
Oh, shit.
That's how they know that it was,
Man.
It gets out. It always gets out.
And talking about the list, I've had a coach call and say, put me on the list. I have zero, but guess what happens when the next school needs, and they look back at Auburn and who didn't get the job? Well, why were they mentioning? Is he a guy we need to take a look at? He just wanted to be on the list. He wanted to be mentioned. He wanted to be in the circle in that conversation of potential candidates to replace ex-coach who's on his way out. It happens. Yep. Coaches are like little schoolgirls.
That's why you saw Bill O'Brien's name get put out there the other day by Thamel. There is zero chance.
I'm about to get fired. Throw my name out there.
Yeah, it's snowball's chance in hell he wasn't placed by Alabama or Saban on that list.
The best is going to be when people in a couple of weeks when they start saying they answer questions that aren't even asked about the Auburn job. Hey, I just want to put it out there. I am not looking to go
right.
Oh yeah,
Cal.
Before anybody asks, I'm not interested in Auburn.
Nope. Generating buzz, wanting to be in that cycle.
It's also people not paying attention to their sources either, because the Bill O'Brien rumor and the prom flight rumor were both started by known troll accounts.
Parody, yeah.
And they were so good that they got prom to actually respond to a known fake tweet. Like, that's how big it got. People just you click on the profile and it's clear it was a parody.
Yeah.
It's just laziness.
Oh yeah.
People don't check up on that anymore.
Elon about to take care of that though.
They just go with
Elon Musk.
He's going to delete all parody accounts.
I pray to God he does.
Yeah.
Make my life easier.
1253. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This is Bob from Houston.
Hey, Bob. Congratulations on the Astros.
Several weeks ago. Listen, going back to something that Jay had said, I think we should go towards a CEO type of head coach. The job of the CEO is to surround himself with people that are smarter than him. And if we go for somebody that is a CEO type, he's just I won't say he's just a face or someone to represent the brand. There is nobody around that is more better than Coach Prime. And all he has to do is surround himself with an excellent defensive coordinator, excellent offensive coordinator. He has connections. He is the man because he can represent the university and the program to everybody, 50 states in the U.S. and Puerto Rico.
Oh. Hey, Bob. First of all, thank you for calling. So, Bob thinks better CEO than Prime. Well, he would have to be, right? I mean, Prime's not an offensive guru. He's not a defensive guru. He's not sitting back there. Zach knows better than anybody. Well, he's not an X's and O's guy.
You know what? It's a good point he makes because I was going to do a breakdown the other day of Coach Sanders' team and his offense and his defense, and about halfway through it, I go, you know what? He's not calling any of this. His coordinators are. You can't really get a read from this. He is the CEO of this team.
100%. Prime is absolutely a CEO. And I'm going to take a little bit of a contrarian viewpoint, and I want our audience to understand that I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Okay, I am a huge believer in Prime. I think he's great. But I can tell you what I have heard from this search as far as that's concerned, that there are questions as to whether or not Prime is prepared to coach in the SEC at this point in his career. To this point, he's coached in the SWAC, okay, and he's done a phenomenal job reinventing Jackson State and turning them from a continuous losing program into a winning program. And not only a winning program, but a team that's probably going to go to the Celebration Bowl and dominate. That said, they have not played an FCS top 25 team this year. They have not played a Group of 5 team this year. They have not played a Power 5 team this year. No one knows what Coach Prime can do when talent is equal on the other sideline and or he's undermatched, okay? And that is a question by decision makers at Auburn. Is he prepared to coach in the SEC? You just don't know. There's not enough proof of concept to say.
Zach is just.
That's what I've heard.
I'm just here.
Don't mess with them swacks, Jhead.
I'm just here.
Look, there's going to be questions. So I'm eating some Chex Mix here.
Yeah, sure.
There's going to be questions about every candidate, right? You know, Matt Rule, let's say. Well, what happened in the NFL? Does he have enough experience? He's only 3 years at a Big 12 school, and for 2 of those years, they weren't any good. So there's going to be question marks for, for all these guys at Chex Mix, for all these guys. It's just that Deion, it's more of there's more great unknowns, I guess. Right. But hey, Brian Harsin was a CEO to a certain degree. But I heard different things throughout the course of his tenure. Early on, some coaches said, he really lets you kind of do he lets me coach. Mm-hmm. So, but then I don't know how involved he was and who played and who didn't play. We know Gus was really involved in out there on offense and, all that stuff. So
judging from Saturday night, maybe Harsin was too involved with who plays.
I think he was very involved.
Maybe. Hey, listen, maybe Schmetting finally had some freedom the other night.
Hats off to Jeff Schmetting. Hey, say what you want to. That dude won't be here long, I'm sure. But that dude, his defense, he did respect to him.
He's coaching for his next opportunity. He put on a good audition. I think him not getting fired already, and he's going to get fired, probably. But not. I think this is a good thing for him. He's out of his element now. The guys that he's been with are gone. He's kind of the odd man out. He's a little bit uncomfortable and
awkward as hell. Yeah.
Okay,
That's okay. That's going to prepare him for future awkward positions. He's a young guy. Future awkward situation. He's really plugged in with NFL guys.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't go where, if Harsin gets a job, let's say, we don't know if Harsin's going to get a head coaching job, by the way. But that's a guy that you could see definitely as a position coach in the NFL next year if it doesn't work out. So yes, I agree with you guys there.
People wanted to know why they kept Jeff Schmedding. Saturday night was exactly why.
100%.
I have a very quick question while we were still on Deion there, not to completely change, but is Deion getting as much mention if he does not land Travis Hunter last year?
Yeah, because of what he's accomplished. I mean, look, he took a program that I think averaged maybe 4 wins a season, if that, and has turned them into a team that now is going to win double-digit games in back-to-back seasons.
Right.
I mean, he has 100% changed the entire scene of the HCBU community. And what he's done is truly miraculous. And like I said, those are questions that I've heard from people that are involved in this search. Those are not necessarily my own questions, but they are facts that to this point, he hasn't played top-tier FCS competition this season. That's, he hasn't played a group of 5. He hasn't played a P5. And they don't know how he would do once that. My guess is he do fine, but it's just a little bit of the unknown. Like you said, that's kind of, they're trying to figure that out. And that's where an interview would come in handy, because then you would get a better feel for what he could do, what he would do.
Good stuff. Appreciate you, Bob. Thanks for the call, man.
Last caller here. 7254. Appreciate you waiting. You were live. Who were we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Clayton Kennedy from Carrollton, Georgia.
All right.
What's up, buddy?
Carrollton is 0 for 1 today. Clean it up, Clayton. What's up, big dog?
I got 2 questions. But my first question is, as of right now, do y'all think we hold on to Jeremiah Cobb? Because I think that guy is a dude. I mean, I think he is going to be just as good as Tank. But after watching that game that he was in Georgia for Saturday, do you think we honestly hold on to him right now?
Fair question, Clayton. What's the number 2?
My second question is, I'm listening to this show, and I keep hearing everybody talk about Lane Kiffin and Deion Sanders, and some people may think I'm crazy for this, but to me, the guy with the most potential, and I think that will lead Auburn in the best direction, and may not get the most wins in the first year, is Dan Lanning. I mean, I think that guy.
I'm with you, Clayton.
Just going to be just like Kirby Smart, what he did for Georgia, and I think he has the blueprint. He's been with Nick Saban, he's been with Kirby Smart. I think if we give that guy a chance at Auburn in the South, he knows the area. I mean, I think we could have a juggernaut on our hands. And I don't care if people say we're copying Georgia or not. As long as we're winning and we're beating them, I don't care what anybody say. But besides that, y'all are doing great stuff, and thank you for taking my call.
Appreciate you, Clay. Appreciate the call. Hey, man, listen, I was going to say this. I don't know when I was going to work this in, but my tier 1 now includes Lane Kiffin and Dan Lanning.
Mm-hmm.
Good guy.
By the way, didn't Georgia once go grab a guy from Auburn? Vincent Dooley was his name?
Yes.
Knew the blueprint?
Yeah, R.I.P. Vince.
I mean, you get the best guy that you can get, period. Now, Cobb, I don't know about you guys. I think Cobb may be 50-50. I mean,
I think he is.
I got him less than that, Keith. I'm going to be completely honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
if you're Auburn, if he decommits, that's bad. But you just don't let him commit to Georgia, okay? Hold on. Hold on.
Man.
If he decommits and flips, it's over is what I
Okay. Is Cadillac here in January or December?
If Cadillac's here, I love our shot.
I do.
I don't know where Cadillac's going to be. That's why I don't like.
If Cadillac's not here, there's no chance, in my opinion. If Cadillac is not here on December 21st, and Jeremiah, from what I've been told, may wait until February just to kind of see how everything shakes out.
It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me at all. I think the kid is really focused on his playoffs right now. I think he considers that number 1, and then he's going to take things as they come, going to visit, going to make sure he's, responding to coaches and all that. And then after the playoffs and all that, I think he'll probably really sit down and say, let's make a decision here, And I'm with Keith. I think it's 50-50 right now just because of what I just said. I think that could change and lean towards Georgia if You know, depending on what they do with Cadillac, I think they keep Cadillac maybe right now, but we'll see.
Well, there's another dynamic real quick, Jhead. Dell McGee, okay? Georgia's running back coach. He's a hot commodity. People come after him every year. So you got to keep an eye on that, too. One thing we know about Jeremiah Cobb, he's a high IQ kid, okay? Yes. He's going to put a lot of thought into it. It may not be the decision that we agree with or the Auburn fans agree with or the Georgia fans at the end of the day, but he's an intelligent kid, and he's gonna make sure he gets it what he believes is the right decision. Jhead, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Jeffrey, my less than 50 is because I don't know who the head coach is going to be and who they're going to want to put on staff. Once I know that, I adjust my percentage. But until that is answered, because Auburn can't guarantee him that Cadillac's going to be here at this point.
Right.
I mean, they have to go out and they got to hire the best guy as far as that's concerned. If it is Dan Lanning and he does retain Cadillac, I would move that as high as 90% he's retained. I feel that comfortable. If it's somebody else that's unfamiliar with this region, that's not able to necessarily connect with the family, that chooses not to retain Cadillac.
No, I completely agree.
Right. You know what I mean? So understanding who the next head coach is going to change my percentage greatly as far as that's concerned. And I agree that Lanning is a fantastic candidate. I think he embodies everything. Like you said, when you look at a pedigree standpoint of being mentored by Nick Saban, look, say what you want, Mike Norvell, who's done a great job down there at Florida State, particularly this season, and the offensive philosophy that he employs with Kenny Dillingham. And then obviously, going to finishing school underneath Kirby Smart and understanding what you're supposed to do from a recruiting standpoint. And Kirby is credited as saying that Dan is the best recruiter that he's had on staff in his tenure at Georgia.
Well, does Lanning, does Glenn Schumann go over to Auburn with Lanning? There's a lot of possibilities. And also, here's one more unknown. Maybe you don't keep Cadillac, or maybe he does a different position. But what if you hire a guy like Brian McClendon? There may be an ace running backs coach out there who we're thinking, well, his relationship with Cadillac is so strong. But there's always the potential for that home run hire. Corey Raymond, did anybody think he would ever leave LSU?
Not me.
So you just never know. Look, you would think it wouldn't help, obviously, and it probably wouldn't. There's just too many unknown variables. That's why I got to put it at 50-50 right now.
Agreed.
I think there's going to be unknown variables every single year because nobody accounts for coaching changes with guys like Corey Raymond at LSU, but it's happening at an alarming rate, guys, these coaching changes. Just like Keith was saying, who would have thought Brian Kelly would go to LSU?
Right. And Raymond, being realistic, he would not be at Florida if, Ed Orgeron doesn't get fired. But that started a domino effect for everything as far as that's concerned. So I think if the HC doesn't get fired, typically speaking, you're not going to see a lot of staff movement until after that December signing day. But I'm with you, Cole. You see it a lot now with guys that are wanting to move up in the ranks, with guys with their head coaches getting fired. You know what I mean? It's a way of life right now. It is a very transient profession.
And
my favorite, this will be my last comment. My favorite's when a guy leaves a school the day after signing day.
Oh,
the Damian Craig effect, baby.
Yeah,
that just cracks me up every
That's
time.
awful, dude.
And people look at Georgia as a place that's got so much stability, and Coach Smart's not going anywhere. So he's going to keep all the guys he wants on staff, right? Well, no, those guys are going to move up and be coordinators or go to the NFL. You see all the turmoil that Alabama has. There's coaching changes every year. It's going to happen again this year. I will put money on it.
Or Kirby works them so hard they retire. Matt Luke.
Yeah, right.
So with Jeremiah Cobb, to me, the better question is Cadillac Williams at Auburn, and that's 50-50, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I have no idea. If he is, then ask me my Jeremiah Cobb prediction. If he's not, ask me my Jeremiah Cobb. It's all dependent on Cadillac Williams. If Cadillac Williams is here when Jeremiah Cobb gets ready to sign, it may not be December 21st, but whenever he gets ready to sign, if Cadillac Williams at Auburn, I feel strongly Jeremiah Cobb will be as well.
Yep.
And Jhead, real quick on Dan Lanning, I move him up today after reading some reading on him, and I'm going,
yep.
God, dude, that's exactly who right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I crazy for that?
No, listen, I've been asked on the board multiple times, who would be your number one? And I have answered continuously, Dan Lanning would
yes.
be my number one.
You have. You've been all over that.
If we were going to make a hire, because I think he just fits what we need, He's a recruiter. He's a defensive-minded coach. He's a guy that's open-minded when it comes to offensive philosophy and would run a scheme at Auburn that would work. But more than anything, it's talent acquisition, and he understands that tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a networker. He's a guy that understands that you need relationships with your alumni, and that's something he picked up from Kirby. You need relationships with those boosters that fund your program.
Look what, in my last point, look what's happening in the SEC right now. Whatever. Jeff's always laughing. There's been two dominant programs, and then LSU had that one great year. But right now you're seeing this resurgence at LSU quickly. We know Brian Kelly's an ace on the recruiting trail too. Bama's not going away. Okay. No. That's two powers right there. Georgia's a third power. Tennessee's an emerging power. UF's got its recruiting act together. Auburn can get this right. I don't think there's a lane for, and I know Georgia's winning big here. This isn't going to last forever. I don't see that Alabama type dominance coming. I could be wrong. It just seems like there's some irons in the fire at all the big six programs in the SEC right now. All six of them. They all sort of either got it going or headed up. And so I think that's a fascinating time in the SEC.
Well, we will be here all week to talk about it all, man. I really like the new candidates. I like learning more about them, and I thought I was crazy, but I'm glad you said that Jhead and Zach was giving me some reassurance there, because I almost think Dan Lanning might be my number one.
He's mine. I did a show on Friday, and they asked me if I got to make the hire today, who would I hire? And I said I think it's Lanning.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And I didn't know about him. I didn't know all that. I just learned what I needed, and that's exact. Honestly, his resume is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's exactly what I'm. Hey, and it doesn't hurt that he's got Oregon 9-1 or 8-1 or where the hell it is.
How old is Dan Lanning?
And Georgia Oregon game next week will be a completely different game.
What if Oregon makes the playoff, guys?
Now that's the monkey wrench there, Keith. You're right, because if they make the playoff, the timing is completely thrown off.
Man, do you let the timing decide or factor in this long-term decision?
If it's me, I'm making a play for the right coach. If I'm sold that he's the right guy, I do not care when he gets to campus. Now, the question is, can you lock him up? Because you're going to want a commitment from him before he gets into the playoff. It's a situation like Brian Kelly last year. You're going to want a commitment from that guy knowing what you've got, because you got to be able to pivot to somebody. You can't afford to miss 2 signing days.
But what a public commitment or a private commitment? A public commitment means he'd be coaching a team knowing that he's leaving them.
Yeah,
that's an untenable situation in many respects.
It's a private commitment with a signed contract.
Yeah.
You sort of, but what do you tell recruits? We've got somebody.
You tell them that Cadillac Williams is the interim until told otherwise, and you announce that the day after Oregon gets bounced by Georgia.
I think secretly you wish Dan Lanning a great, successful end of the season with the loss to Southern Cal in the Pac-12 championship game.
You're right about that, brother. 100%. I need Lincoln Riley to you know what I mean, to make that happen.
Go Trojans. Hey, we're going to wrap it up there, fellas. We're going, as I said earlier, we're going to be here all week on our YouTube page, Auburn Live on 3 YouTube page. Get signed up. You don't have to sign up. You just got to lick it and like it and subscribe to it. Turn on those notifications, because we're going to be uploading free content all week long on our YouTube page. Again, if you're not a member of Auburn Live on 3, we do this all day, every day, folks, and we'll have all the insight, intel, and scoop on this coaching search, on the team, on recruiting. Basketball starting soon. Basketball recruiting signing day is Wednesday. The early signing period begins Wednesday. We've got it all. Auburn Live on 3, $25 for an entire year. You absolutely will not be disappointed. We'll be back all week. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate all the calls. We had LG, Bryce, Hayden, AUJH Dub, EJT, Auburn Stuff, Don Juan, Keith, Bob, and Clayton. Man, Clayton finished us off really well tonight. Appreciate all the calls. Thanks again for everybody listening. For Keith, for Pink, for Jhead, for Zach in the back. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.